So today me I go read something ha go happen in a Vibes Cartel, Vice of the Jamaican book, is the master people. So let's start. So this is one chapter where my favorite chapter. So I start the song Something Ha Go Happen by asking for a chance to speak on poor people's behalf. Because throughout our history, the poor and oppressed in Jamaica are never freely given a voice. In Jamaica's history, once a voice for the poor emerges, it is muzzled or disappears in mysterious ways. My song is a warning to the powers that be. If we do not change the way the poor are treated in Jamaica, something is going to happen. I am not an advocate of violence, but I have seen too many ghetto people killed standing up for their rights. In this country, I think if the conditions of the poor don't change soon enough, we could have a revolution on our hands. If the powers that be have no regard for the poor under regular circumstances, my heart bleeds for the calamities that will reach my people if we decide to stand up for our rights. Again, this song is encouraging the powers that be to do something before what we saw in North Africa happens here in Jamaica. I am not a prophet, but I did write this song before the Egypt and Tunisia debacle and whistle. I am not taking sides there. I feel that Jamaica is on the brink of something happening. As a ghetto youth, you develop a natural instinct as a means of survival. To survive, you have to able to sense when the police will make a raid and round up random youths. You have to know what men from another community might attack yours, so you pre which fence to beat in the event that this happens. Also, you have to be wary of thieves who may see your things and try to take them in the ghetto. A man can hold a fresh one evening, put on his clothes, and when he walks outside, he just gets a feeling that something bad is about to happen. There is no cloud in the sky, but the place is overcast. The youths are playing in the street, the man them a beat domino up on the sidewalk, and the sound system is pushing out some serious tunes. But even with all that noise, the silence is defining. You just feel it. It's something you can't explain to someone not from the ghetto. You just look by your brethren and say, Popcorn, something a go happen. Malcolm X said when you have a powder keg and there are too many sparks around it, it will explode. That is what we are faced with in Jamaica, powder kegs of poverty. But on top of the poverty, Babylon hits us with more sparks. You give us more general consumption tax, GCT. You raise basic food prices, dish out more police brutality, raid more of our dances and stop with liquor food. I am appealing to the powers that be when the picnic want go school and the mother want go shopping and there is no money. So something bound to happen and yes, those sparks will cause the cake to burst. Peter Tosh said, there can be no peace until all men have equal rights and justice. Currently, poor people hardly have any rights, and justice for them is nothing more than a dream etched in their minds but never be realized under this current political system. Haile Selassie said, until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, there is war. There is will be war. So Vibes Cartel is not the first to say this, as great men have been saying the same thing for years. I think Babylon is making two enormous erroneous assumptions. Firstly, Babylon feels that they are not as bad as ghetto people make them out to be, and secondly, they believe Jamaicans are not like Egyptians or Tunisians. We will not stand up for our rights. There is so far from the truth. Jamaicans are a proud rebellious people, but what Babylon tries to do is steal our history and revolt from us and give the impression that any freedoms we have obtained were given to us and not taken by our people. This practice of stealing our history is not accidental. In fact, it was taught by white supremacists like Willie Lynch and others. In their slave doctrine, the oppressors were always warned that if even 7 minutes of their true history is released to the slave, it could erase 7 years of brainwashing and destroy the mind control of white supremacists. I will attempt to share some of the knowledge I have acquired through reading and reasoning over the years. I want to emphasize the point of the institutionalized brainwashing that we as poor black ghetto people have been subjected to in Jamaica. One of the biggest lies we have been fed is that slavery was abolished. This is a vicious lie for two main reasons. Number one, no one ever abolished slavery. No, we took our freedom during that. The reason the enslavers gave up on slavery was because they could not take the pressure anymore. The slaves were giving them a hard time, burning plantations and destroying great houses. Economically, West Indian sugar was losing its viability as a cash crop, as Europe was finding substitutes and their conscience no longer allowed them to justify Euro Christianity and slavery on the same plantation. We were pressuring them, but instead of teaching us that Babylon created the illusion, they did us a favor by simply handing us our freedom on a platter as an act of kindness. They did this first with books. A level students are told to read the book British Slave Emancipation. Now consider that name just by saying it. You are immediately enu- enunciating the fact that it was the British who emancipated us and our forefathers have nothing to do with it. Lies. They gave us politically correct books with fancy names such as Sugar and Slavery and From Arabs to Africans as if anything glamorous happened during slavery. If the Gaza published such books, they would have been given names like robbery, skullduggery, rape, and murder, just so Europeans can have sugar in their tea and money in their pockets. The genocide of all genocides, and can we have the gold that you stole, please? As far from Arawaks to Africans, I would call it how the Europeans killed the Arawaks, then move on to the Africans, and those more appropriate names by far that truly represent what happened. Worse than the political correct approach is the fact that governments supposedly made up primarily of African descendants, or at least by their mantra, represent Africans, still celebrate holidays that symbolize when Europe eased the oppression and not the glory days when we rebelled. Confusing. Check this out. Please pardon the graphic images. Imagine a man kidnapping and raping your daughter repeatedly over a number of years. During this time, she would fight back occasionally. One day she escapes and is recaptured. Another day, she is able to hit one of her attackers, temporarily knocking him out. Eventually, because of your daughter's bravery and resilience, her attackers grow weary. Neighbors become suspicious and start complaining about the screams they keep hearing. All this pressure on her captors forces them to let her go for their own self-interest and safety because it is becoming expensive, dangerous, and burdensome to keep her captive due to her rebellious attitude. However, as a last bit of humiliation, the same people who used to beat, rape, and use her offer her a minimal salary in exchange for compliance. Talk about adding insult to injury. Now, as her parent, someone she looked for leadership and guidance would tell her to remember and celebrate the day they decide to stop raping her and offer her money for her services. Or would you think it is better for her to celebrate the days of victory when she fought them and was victorious? When she made it so hard for them to continue mistreating her that her actions forced them to let her go. That is what I cannot understand about Jamaica and other black nations born out of slavery and colonialism. We celebrate Emancipation Day, the day they said, okay, nigga, you are free. We celebrate Independence Day, which I don't really understand because the Queen is still the head of state. The day they said, okay, niggers, you can now rule yourselves, but we will leave a governor general in charge to watch over you. That to me is ridiculous. Why don't we celebrate as a public holidays Sam Sharp Rebellion, Taki War, the Morant Bay Rebellion, and all other days when poor people said we will not take it anymore, and then a cause something happened to change their circumstances. I am not sure how many know what happened. It just days because Babylon wanted us to feel that way. We never had any challenges. As given us Boxing Day, when rich aristocrats would give the poor servants what left after Christmas, but will not allow us to celebrate August 17, the birthday of the greatest mortal man man to ever live, Marcus Garvey, our own Jamaican. Sure, slavery was rampant after they annihilated the Arawaks, but don't be fooled. Our reaction was nothing like the reaction portrayed in books and movies today. Hollywood portrays us as submissive, taking, taking the whippings daily, saying yes, massa, and no massa. But black people gave them a warm time back then when the British moved in on Jamaica in 1655.